The Seattle Seahawks had one of the more fascinating drafts. They had one pick I hated and a lot of picks I liked. So let's get into it. First, a pick I liked, Charles Cross at number 9. Just so you know what you're looking at. What you see is the player, and then to the left of them, all the way to the left is going to be when they got drafted, and then the number right next to the name. That is where they ranked on the consensus big board, and you actually see a lot of weirdly similar spots for a lot of these picks. A couple, are far off towards the end, but usually they're all over the place. These are pretty similar, including Cross, who was ninth in terms of the consensus big board and ninth in the actual draft. Best pure pass protector in this draft class, in my opinion. He might be the best tackle in this draft class. To me, there was a clear big three with the tackles. He was the last of those three, and they didn't have to move up at all. They were able to sit back and draft him. They desperately needed tackles. Currently, heading into this draft, it's a stat you've all heard, I'm sure, at this point. The only tackles they had were a sixth rounder and an undrafted free agent. So going out and getting two good pass protectors, the other one I'll get to in a second, I think all the way, right out the bat, making your team better. There's some jokes about, oh, you're protecting Drew Lock, build around Drew Lock. Well, what they're really probably doing is protecting like Bryce Young or whoever they get next year, I'm assuming. Number 40, they went out and got Boye Mafe, who he's someone who some people really liked. I kind of just always got the vibe of him, he's fine. Like I don't hate him. He'll probably be a solid player in the NFL, but do I think that he has the potential to be like elite or anything? No. And I also think that there were some other guys that I still liked even more than Mafe that were drafted around this spot. So I'm just a little bit lower on him than others, but consensus big board had him as an early second rounder. He goes early second round. I'm not mad at it. It's fine. Whatever. Number 41, though, this is the pick I hated. Kenneth Walker here, who, listen, his consensus big board ranking was around this spot. I just think it's not the right move to draft a running back when you're rebuilding. I've never been a fan of it. And it's not a Kenneth Walker thing. I like Kenneth Walker as a player. But people keep saying, well, what were we supposed to do? Rashad Penny's on a 1-year deal. Chris Carson has the neck injury. He might never play again, which sucks because he's awesome when healthy. But so what are we supposed to do here? Well, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to draft someone like round 6 who can still be just as effective, because typically round 6 running backs are just as effective as round 2 running backs. That's the issue. That's why this doesn't make sense. And I like Kenneth Walker a lot as a pure runner. I even have some issues with him, though. I feel like he will miss some blocks. He's mostly just a runner, which, again, if you want to be a run-heavy team, cool. But you also drafted 2 offensive linemen who are known for their pass blocking. Like the other guy, Abraham Lucas, is very much a pass protector, who I like a lot. This was actually a steal for me. It's right around where his consensus big board ranking was. But Lucas is a guy who I think will be really good. He is someone who I think is a real underrated player. And because of that, I think, again, if you are an analytics fan, which I am, especially when it comes to offensive linemen, guys who have good pass protection win rates tend to be good at the NFL level. He had a great pass protection win rate. So in pure pass sets, he did great in pass protection. So because of that, I think that he'll probably be good at the NFL level of that. You got 2 starting caliber tackles, in my opinion, and I think a solid rotational edge rusher in this draft class. That's awesome value. Not a huge fan of Kenneth Walker. That's okay. That's fine. We don't have to all agree on all this stuff, because I do still think that there's, plenty to like. We then had Coby Bryant, who is a really interesting player. He was one of legitimately I think he'll be good in this scheme, especially because, he's not overwhelmingly fast or anything like that, but you don't need to be in the Seattle cover 3, which I'm assuming Pete Carroll still wants to run. It's kind of a similar scheme. And this is kind of why I've seen some mocks showing the Seahawks get another Cincinnati player, Sauce Gardner, with the 9th pick, but obviously he didn't make it that far. But Coby Bryant is a guy who, he's a Cincinnati corner who was a legitimately really good corner last year. So he's someone who, in hindsight, it's how did he fall to 109? He could be one of those guys that we look back on and say, man, how did we not see that? He was good his last year in college, and he consistently got better year after year, and he fits that scheme well. I think he'll be a starting corner for them. I think he has that kind of potential. So I legitimately think this draft, with those first 5 picks, they got 4 players who are going to be good for them. And then honestly, 5 players who are going to be good for them. Like Kenneth Walker is going to be good for them. It's a bad pick, but he's going to be good for them and still be good for a few years because running backs don't fall off a cliff immediately. So it's a really good draft so far. It doesn't end there, in fact. So Tyreek Woolen is very much one of those, he's a cornerback who is very much an athletic project type guy, which I'm fine with taking at 153. Wouldn't love it if it was pick 40, but 153, this is one you start taking some more athletic guys who just have potential and maybe you can make it work. And if not, well, okay, you missed on a 5th rounder, so be it. Tyreek Smith is someone who he's an edge rusher who I'm actually really fascinated by. I mean, you could argue his numbers weren't as good as like Mafe's in terms of, again, not looking at just pure sacks. I'm looking at, the advanced statistics that tend to translate well to the NFL level. His numbers weren't quite that good, but they were not too far off. So getting him in round 5, that's another, at least it's you're hedging your bet a little bit on the Mafe pick. So getting a couple guys who could, I think they'll both get playing time, which is cool. That's what you want. So that's fascinating. Also, Bo Melton, a guy who, fast 40 time. So that's always good as a wide receiver. Again, with 229, maybe that means he'll be a good gunner. Because again, the 40 time was initially created to figure out who can be good gunners because that's the length of an average punt, or at least close to it. So he might just be that. He might just be a special teams guy. That's probably what's going to be the case. But still, someone who I definitely think is interesting. And then Derek Young, another wide receiver. So maybe they just wanted receiver depth, which would make some sense as well. Or again, could be special teams guys. Bigger wide receiver at 6'3", 220. So that's an interesting pick as well. That is the Seattle Seahawks draft. So I really liked it. There was one pick I hated, and I still really liked it. And I'm not even a huge Boye Mafe guy. So again, the Abraham Lucas and Coby Bryant picks were the ones that I just realized Coby, it's spelled differently, Coby Bryant. But I just realized, oh yeah, that's Coby Bryant, like the basketball player. That's funny. But as a whole, I think I like this draft. I think it was a good draft. And I think that, they could have gone quarterback. That's the one way this could have been a great draft for me, is if they still ended up getting a quarterback and still got, if instead of Kenneth Walker, they got like Malik Willis and took a chance on a quarterback who, could be great, could suck. I would have rather had that than going into the season relying on Drew Lock and Geno Smith. That's just how I view it. But what do you guys think? What were your thoughts on this Seattle Seahawks draft? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.